Hello everybody, hello world. Aimee Takaya here, and today I'm going to talk about posture, okay? Have you ever wondered why some people have bad posture? Bad posture? Maybe you think you have bad posture, slouching, for example. And I have bad posture, I should be sitting up. So we find ourselves not able to stay in good posture. Or maybe you've noticed that when you look in the mirror, one shoulder is a little lower than the other. Or maybe you can feel that there's this little twist in your pelvis and something's off. So today we're going to explore why that happens and what you can do about it, all right? So we're going to explore whether there is such a thing as good and bad posture and how posture arises in our bodies. We're going to explore how posture develops over the course of our lives and what the problem is with having, bad posture. We're going to look into that. Plus, I'm going to share with you my personal posture that I carried in my body for years. And I'm going to show you also how I started to transform my posture into one that's more balanced, right? One that's more free. So, first of all, what is posture? Posture is a dynamic living process that goes on all the time. And it can be changed at any time. Okay? Posture is not just how upright we stand. Posture is how we position ourselves in relation to society, in relation to gravity, in relation to our attitude, and in relation to our emotions. So posture isn't just how we hold our bodies, it's how we experience and respond to life, okay? So let's look at this idea of good posture and bad posture and what that really means. In order to kind of take this apart and look at it, I'm going to be showing you 3 reflexive postural patterns. They're primal and they're happening unconsciously in us in response to life. Okay, so these are 3 postural patterns that happen all the time, and they happen at subtle levels. How I'm going to be showing you is going to be a little bit more dramatic. Like I'm going to show you an exaggeration for emphasis, but I want you to understand that these postural patterns are happening unconsciously, and they are happening all the time, and they're subtle. They're not necessarily these big movements that I'm going to show you, okay? So we have these 3 postural reflexive patterns that our nervous system runs in response to life. The first one that I'm going to show you is called red light. Red light is a response to some kind of danger, and our bodies go like this. Okay, so I'll show you that again. Shoulders come up, belly comes in, pelvis is tucked, knees bend and come in, elbows bend. This looks familiar, right? If you hear a loud noise, like a sound goes off, it's like boom. What do? We do this. We do it at a little level. If you're at a movie theater and there's a horror movie and there's a sound, you go like this. So we know this. It's also called the startle reflex, but in somatics we call this pattern the red light reflex, okay? So this happens to protect us from something in our environment, or maybe even a thought or an emotion related to something that happened to us before, and we respond to protect ourselves, body folding in. I'm going to show you this from the side too. So this is red light pattern in response to something in our environment or something that's happening internally that causes us to move inward, okay, to be protecting ourselves. Pelvis tucked under. The front side muscles of my body are in contraction, okay? Then the opposite of this pattern is a pattern that we call green light in somatics, okay? We have red light, which is stop, withdraw, protect, and then we have green light, and green light is a little something like this. Green light is all the backside muscles of my body are in engagement, and green light is generally associated with happiness, hey guys, joy, It's also associated with assertion, pushing our energy out into the world. You know, this kind of charging forward, strength, you know, in life, you know, someone who's continuing to move forward. So we have those two, well, there's three of them. I haven't gotten to the third one yet. There's two postural patterns we've already looked at if you're just joining. Red light pattern, okay? This is a protection pattern that happens in our nervous system to protect us, right? And then there's green light, which is moving us forward into the world, moving us forward. And these patterns, both of these patterns, they are happening unconsciously, and they end up pulling against each other. If you can see that. So the contraction of the front side of my body to protect, right? It would pull against the assertion, the part of my body that moves me forward in space. So the third postural reflex is something called trauma reflex, and it's a pattern, again, an unconscious pattern that our nervous system runs in response to life, that is a strategy to deal with some kind of event or some kind of injury that is preventing us from moving forward, okay? So if I twist my ankle, my whole nervous system is going to rearrange my body, my muscular structure, to accommodate and deal with the fact that now it hurts to put weight on my foot, right? So my body's going to shift my weight to one side. And let me exaggerate this a little more so you can see it. Shift my weight to one side. So there's this shortening of one side of my weight. And with this pattern, there's usually a little rotation that happens in our bodies. A rotation of the pelvis or a rotation of the shoulders, right? This is a strategy to deal with some kind of trauma that's happened. So this is also a very helpful pattern, right? It's helpful in life to, you know, use these reflexes, as I've shown you, to be able to withdraw and protect ourselves. It's also useful to be able to get up and go and assert, right? Red light, stop. Green light, go. Trauma, strategize, deal with something that's happened and still get around, still move forward in life, okay? So these are the three primal postural reflexes that are happening in our bodies all the time unconsciously. I'll be talking more about this and showing you guys. I'm actually going to show you, I have a little skit that I'm going to show you the life of a soma, or the life of our bodies in these patterns and how we respond, okay? So we've already talked about posture, what it is. It's a dynamic, living process that goes on all the time. And this idea of having good or bad posture is not really the full picture. The bigger picture is that posture, even bad posture, is part of this person's or my innate unconscious intelligence of my nervous system to deal with whatever's happened in my environment, in my life, right? The problem with these patterns is that they run all the time unconsciously, and they accumulate. They accumulate over the course of our lives on our bodies, just like our life experiences or, you know, our traumas. They can really accumulate, and they end up physically binding us, physically trapping us, okay? And that's also what I'm going to be demonstrating in a minute, is that process by which, you know, we get stuck in a bad posture. We get stuck in a posture that, like, we didn't have 10 years ago, or we didn't have before that car accident. But these postural patterns are habitual, meaning that we don't know that we're doing it when we're doing it. It's happening unconsciously. Okay, so we've identified those things, and now I'm going to talk to you about how it develops. I'm going to show you, not just talk, but I'm going to show you how posture develops over the course of life. Okay, so this is a little skit called Life as a Soma. All right, so here I am. Hopefully you guys can see me well enough here on the floor. I got to get better lighting maybe next time. You can turn up the brightness on your phone. So here I am as a baby, a little baby, you know, so safe and protected in my mother's womb, and then I come out into the world. And, you know, after a while I start moving more, opening my eyes more and being present to the world. And then, you know,
I roll onto my belly, and if you've ever had a baby or been around babies, you've seen them do this. This is where posture really starts to develop, is when we're babies, right? And this starts to occur. Start to lift our heads, and this is that green light pattern. This is that moving out into the world pattern. This is ready to go. And eventually, a baby does this enough that they build that green light pattern, the strength in their body to stand up, right? And then I'm a little kid and I'm standing up, and little kids tend to be very green light. They tend to be very green light. That's that first pattern that they had, that they developed in their nervous system to hold themselves upright. And there's a lot of excitement in being a little kid, standing up, looking around at what's happening in the world, right? And then we inevitably go through puberty. And puberty has us feeling a little uncomfortable with our bodies, you know, a little bit insecure. Here's that red light pattern of not feeling like, oh, I'm not really ready to go out into the world. I'm not really ready. This is the fear, a little bit of, you know, fear of red light pattern, okay? But then, you know, there's wonderful things that happen in life too that move us out of our fear, like getting a new car or getting your first car. And now you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go out there and experience the world. I got a new car. So you get in your car and you're driving along and you get into a car accident. All right? And you break your leg. Oh, and it's painful, right? And now you're on crutches. And as you can see, my whole body has rearranged to accommodate, to deal with the fact that now this leg is injured, it's hurt. So now the weight's on the right side of my body. Here's this trauma pattern coming in, right? And now I'm holding crutches. So there's an additional pattern here of muscular contraction to use the crutches to get around, okay? So then, of course, my leg eventually heals, and, you know, I'm still young. Maybe I've just had puberty, so I'm like 20 years old, okay? So now, okay, things are better. You know, it's been a couple of years. My leg is healed. That car accident was, you know, a while ago. I'm okay now, right? And I'm starting to think about exercising again, you know, now that my leg is better. So I'm thinking about maybe starting to run. It looks really fun. You know, I always really liked running when I was a kid. And, you know, just thinking about running, my body starts to light up. You know, there's that green light pattern coming up again, like, oh, that would be fun to go on a run. So put on my running shoes, right? And get out of the house and I start running. I know this feels pretty good. But I noticed, you know, I'm landing a little heavier on my right leg. And this is kind of strange. Like, the weight keeps going to this side, and, you know, now I'm starting to get this pain or this like tightness feeling on this side, and I don't know, you know, where that came from. I guess maybe the car accident or something, and it's not feeling very good. Oh, it's really not feeling very good, and there's that trauma pattern reemerging. Oh, to help me strategize, because I can't put any weight on this leg. It really hurts, okay? So now I'm trying to get back to my car, and every time that I feel the pain on this side of my leg, I'm having that red light experience. I'm having that contraction of the front of my body going, withdraw from this pain. At the same time, I am super strong, right? I'm a warrior, and so there's the green light pattern that's gonna get me back to the car, okay? So here I am. Oh, and it hurts, and I'm getting back to the car. Got back to the car, okay. I know that I need to take care of my body, you know, maybe running just, you know, until I heal more, it's not for me, right? Life goes on, and eventually, you know, I get pregnant. Oh, I'm so pregnant. And I can feel that my body has rearranged. My nervous system has now rearranged to carry around the baby in my body. You know, so this is an interesting combination because it's part green light with my back, you know, and probably some joy and excitement. And then there's that primal fear that's going on, and there's definitely, I need to like not fall backward. So there's red light going on. So there's a combo pattern, right? And then eventually, I have the baby. Wish it was that easy, right? I have the baby, and now I got this little person I'm carrying around all the time. And there's that trauma pattern coming up again. Holding my baby on one side a lot, while I do things. Or maybe I hold them on this side. Maybe I hold them on both sides. So there's trauma pattern on this side now coming in. Trauma pattern on this side as I hold my baby and I get business done in life. Yeah. Then, eventually my kid, grows up, goes to school, whatnot. And so I go back to work, and I get this great job working in an office, for maybe a company I feel really good about, green light, ready to go. But I'm sitting now. I'm sitting all day, every day. And this is a great example of how the postural patterns kind of pull on each other. So in this sitting position, I'm kind of in a red light position, leaning over my desk, right? Concentrating. It's kind of an inward experience while I'm, figuring out what's going on and how to best do my work. At the same time, I need to sit upright, right? I can't just lean over on my desk. So there's this constant, back and forth happening between the muscles of the front of my body holding me in this position and the muscles of the back of my body holding me. I see some comments, and after this demo, I'm going to get to the questions, so stay tuned, okay? So this is that battle of red light, green light, red light, green light. And maybe I notice, I'm I kind of tend to lean. I lean on my desk a lot, and I always lean on this side. Remember that trauma pattern from the car accident? I'm leaning on this side again. This is my good side, right? So we have these jobs, and we go all the time, day in, day out, maybe for 40 years. 40 years of sitting and doing the same thing over and over, right? Whatever your job is, whatever the thing you do with your body is, over and over. Then eventually we retire or we get old, okay? So now, it's tough to get up. Maybe you even feel this at 30, not 60, but it's tough to get up after a day of sitting at your job. And when I wake up in the morning, my back kind of hurts, and it's just I feel stiff all over, and my posture's changed. Now I'm, say, 65 years old, 70 years old, and I've lost a few inches of height. And, I notice I slouch a lot. I keep trying to stand myself upright, but every time I'm relaxed, every time I don't think about it, I catch myself kind of slouched again. And, but, there's still great things to live for in life, like I'm going to Hawaii next month. There's that green light again, just something exciting that's coming up, right? And then there's also bad things that happen, like a pandemic, and there's panic and there's fear, and I'm carrying that around, right? And oh gosh, somebody I know just got COVID. So this pattern's also still there, and there's layers of it now. I now, as a 65, 70-year-old person, there's layers of life experience and layers of my nervous system's response to life experience, okay? So I'm retired, and I had a desk job and had a lot of tension in my body, so it's not so fun to exercise or run or do things that I used to enjoy doing. In fact, I never really liked running all that much, but my friends have been doing it. They invited me to do it again. But every time I think about it, it sounds like fun, but then I remember how much pain I was in when I had to drag myself back to the car, and that kind of shuts me down. That puts me in that red light position again, just from the thought of trying to go do something like that, But it's okay. I sit a lot, I started doing some handicrafts, which if you see, this kind of position, it would be similar to the desk position, right? My nervous system knows this pattern, so it's easy to be in this position, right? And I'm doing handicrafts, I'm sewing, and you know what I really love? I love cat memes, So I sit on my couch and I look at cat memes. Green light. There's that green light pattern of enjoying something, right? And then, there are other things. Sometimes the internet, really pisses me off. And then I feel that green light again, I tell you, right? So they're going on all the time, these postural reflexive patterns in response to life. They happen from our life experiences. They happen from our traumas. They happen from our thoughts and our emotions, right? And whatever, position we have in the world, in society, okay? So here I am, sitting on the couch, 75 years old, watching my cat memes. occasionally getting angry, you know, and then every time I feel this pain in my back, it's like, oh, kind of breaks me down inside, kind of wears me out, because pain can be really scary. So over time, you know, I really need some extra support when I lay down. I need a pillow under my head. I need a pillow under my knees to kind of hold me and keep me, you know, resting comfortably. Oh, and then eventually over time, it's quite difficult to really want to do a whole lot. And as I get towards the end of my life, you know, I have all these memories of things that happened in my life, and bad things, good things, you know, things I wish I'd done differently, and there's just a continuous moving inward, you know, further into this red light position of withdrawing from the outside world and moving inward. And then one day, you know, and so what I've just shown you is the course of our lives. We are changing our posture. We are moving in response to life from one posture to another, whether we're withdrawing from what's happening, right, or protecting ourselves, or whether we're moving out into the world with excitement or strength, okay, whether we're strategizing to deal with some kind of trauma that happened, right, and still be able to move forward. So this, you know, is bigger than the idea of good and bad posture. So when you see someone, or maybe you look at yourself and your shoulders are a little rolled forward, you know, or maybe your back is kind of overly arched, or maybe you notice that like things are kind of twisted. Instead of thinking that you have bad posture, I invite you to consider that this is your nervous system's innate intelligence trying to help you, you know, trying to protect you, trying to strengthen you, or not trying, but is, you know, protecting you, is strengthening you, is developing a strategy to deal with something, okay? So the problem with bad posture, or the problem with these reflexive patterns, is that they accumulate. They accumulate over the course of our lives, and they bind us, okay? They end up freezing us, trapping us in a posture that is uncomfortable, that is stiff, that is painful, right? So I'm now going to share with you my posture, the posture that I carried based on my unique, my brain's unique reorganization of my body, how I stood and carried myself in the world, right? And like I said, is as a result of my responses, my nervous system's responses to my life experiences, and things that happened to me. I guess that's the same thing, life experiences and things that happen to you. So this is what I'm going to show you now, is how I used to stand and how I tried to fix my bad posture, and then the things that I actually did that reset my posture, that freed up my posture. Okay, so first I'm going to show you my general standing posture here right now, okay? I'm a little excited, so I can kind of feel my back's a little green light right now. And if you're just joining, you know, you got to watch the beginning to get the whole green light, red light, trauma pattern, understanding the things I'm talking about at this point in the live video. But here's my standing posture, okay? And now I'm going to move into my posture from, let's say, 7 years ago at the height of, like, you know, my challenges in my body, okay? So this is how I used to stand. There's that green light chest, and now pelvis is kind of tucked under. My weight is very forward, and in order to not fall forward, right, I have to draw my shoulders back. And what you can see also from my posture, how I used to stand, right? Oh, and I'll also say, part of standing like this, I really didn't like want my belly hanging out, so I used to really pull my stomach in a lot too in this position to kind of, you know, look good, right? So then, if you look at me from the side, and now you can see that my shoulders are a little off kilter and there's more weight on my right leg. So this is how I used to stand because of an injury that I had on my left side. Standing on my left leg was painful, so my body reorganized to stand more on my right leg because it was reliable to get me around. And so this is my old posture, and at some point, I can't remember exactly when, but I was a yoga teacher, I am a yoga teacher, so I noticed and I got feedback from people that, my hips should be over my feet, that my body should be stacked. And I'm like, oh no, I have this bad posture. How do I fix this bad posture? Okay? And so I did. I tried to fix it by consciously micromanaging my body. Okay? So I would go, oh, I'm doing that again. Let me try to change that, move my hips back. Okay, I'm doing that again. Let me try to, fix this. But every time that I relaxed a little bit or, wasn't thinking about it, I would find myself back in this position again, and I'd be like, so frustrating, right? So what I ended up coming to, or what I ended up discovering, was that there's a way for me to actually release these patterns of contraction, not just on a local level, like release my hamstring or release my, the muscles of my ankle if my foot hurts, but there's actually a way to release these full body patterns of contraction. So I'm going to just show you again in case you didn't see the first part of this video. The 3 primal reflexive patterns that we're looking at today are called red light pattern, right? That's also known as the startle reflex. And then green light pattern, which has a name also when you're a little baby and you're learning to, hold your head up and stand upright. This one is called the Landau reflex, is another name for it. Lower back, muscles, and, so these red light, withdraw, green light, go. And then the trauma pattern, which is a rearrangement to deal with a pain or a trauma of some kind, okay? So these strategies bind us over time, and they bound me, and they put my body into this specific configuration that I showed you, right? That was habitual. It was unconscious. Every time I relaxed, wasn't thinking about it, I found myself in the same position again. Not unlike someone who is always slouching, and they try to sit up straight, and then they slouch again, and then because it's happening unconsciously. It's happening through a part of your brain that is not conscious. So, what I did to change this is I practiced Hana-somatic education. Hana-somatic education specifically targets these full body patterns of contraction that bind us. And it's a daily practice, so I practiced these movements daily to teach my brain to lengthen and relax these patterns of contraction in my body and ultimately free my posture so that I'm not bound by the reactions that my nervous system had to different kinds of challenges or traumas or life experiences. Practicing these movements, these Hana-somatic movements that I'm actually going to show you the foundational one that we use, practicing these movements daily freed my body from the conditioning, right? That's not bad or wrong. It's my nervous system strategizing or reacting to life, okay? And it reset or freed my postural patterns so that I don't actually stand like this anymore. That's not my go-to position. My nervous system's not automatically putting me in this position, right? I have the freedom to respond to life with fear and then come out of it through my practice. And then I have the positive experiences or excitement, where I get angry and I can come out of it. I can actually reset my posture. And when I start to notice, the injury that I had on my left side, injuries reemerge. If you've ever had one, you probably know that they kind of keep coming back. So when I feel that reemergence and I'm like, oh, I'm really, putting more weight on my right side again, I can do something practical. I can lay down on the floor and I can do these movements to reset what's happening in my body, not just from a localized standpoint of one area that I'm focusing on, but from a whole body
understanding of these reflexes, these reflexive patterns that are there ultimately to protect us, to serve us, right? If you're just joining, I'm going to show you these patterns because when I lay down on the floor. Oh, Emily says she has horrible posture. Hi, yes, I would love for you to start this video over again whenever you have time and watch it, because this is kind of towards the end and I talk about why we have bad posture, you know, and that could be really helpful for you, Emily, okay? But I'm at this point in the video now, so I'm going to continue and I'm going to show you guys the fundamental hanasomatic exercise that everybody, you know, usually I have clients that don't start with this for various reasons, but usually this is the first movement that we teach and that we start with, okay? And if you've watched the whole video, you'll understand why. I'm going to talk a little bit about why this is a fundamental movement in hanasomatic education, okay? So, see, I'm going to lie down on the floor again, and next time I better get a little better lighting, so sorry about that. So, you know what? Actually, maybe I can make this a little easier for you guys. I'm just going to rearrange the camera so that you can see more clearly what I'm doing with my body as I'm doing it, okay? Let's see if this is, oops, oh gosh. I'm learning how to use Facebook Live still. So bear with me while I'm in my learning process. Okay, so this is better because now you guys can see the middle of my body, which is really important to this movement, okay? So this is the movement pattern, and I'm actually going to move my arm up here so that you guys can see, but you don't have your arm up necessarily when you do this movement pattern. So this is a fundamental exercise in hanasomatic education that will start you on your journey to transforming and freeing your posture, okay? So that you're not stuck in a posture that, you know, is uncomfortable or causes you chronic pain or just doesn't feel good, right? So this is called the arch and curl, and there's two parts to it, okay? And I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can do it, depending on your body. So what you do for the arch portion of this movement is you're going to arch your back away from the floor by pressing your hips down, okay? Like this. So my back is arching a little bit away from the floor, and then I'm going to super slow, as slow as I can, I'm going to come out of the arch. Come out of the arch completely, and then relax. Okay, in hanasomatic education, it's very important that you release the muscles slowly and that you rest before you do another movement. The magic of hanasomatics, the changes in your brain occur through slow release and relaxation, okay? So, looking again at my back, I'm going to do that again. You're going to arch your back just a little bit. It can be like the super tiniest arch in the world. Just arching my back a little bit, pressing my hips down, then very, very slowly, as slow as I can handle, I come out of the arch. And once I'm out of the arch and I can feel that I'm no longer arched, I take a moment to let my whole body relax, okay? This might not be easy in the beginning. People don't usually practice relaxing, you know, in general, but also this way, okay? So there's a learning curve. I'll do that again if you're just watching or you want to see it again. You're going to inhale and arch your back a little bit. It can be a small arch. It doesn't have to be a lot. You're working with your nervous system. It's sensitive. Slowly, slowly come out of the arch, taking your time to come completely out of the arch, and then relax. And even if you just do this movement, if you try this laying down on the floor, you can check in beforehand and see how does my body feel. And then you can check in afterwards and notice how your body feels. Okay, so that's the first way that you can try this posture. Now, if you try this movement and, oh, sorry, Kitty, I gotta have she's a little ornery. She's kind of a feisty one. So, if it's uncomfortable to arch your back for various reasons, you want to try the movement more small, more gentle. It can be, like I said, a micro movement, but it's still the same idea. Arching a little bit, barely noticeable, super slowly coming out of the arch and relaxing.
You can also try the front of the body, but I'm going to show you the other one. I'm going to stay here on my plan right now. So now, that's the first part, is that arching and releasing of your back. You're going to stay with that movement pattern maybe 3 times, right? Do 3 gentle arches and releases. Then we're going to add your upper body into this movement pattern. So you can bring your arms behind your head. If it's not comfortable, you can have pillows supporting your head and your arms so that you are comfortable. It's very important to be comfortable in Hanasomatic education, which is something I love. So you're going to now, starting the same way, very gently arch your lower back a little bit. Then you'll slowly, carefully come out of the arch, taking your time. When you feel your back is long, you've come out of the arch, you're going to lift your elbows, you're going to bring your head forward. It doesn't have to come very far forward. It could be a small lift. And then as slow as you can, bring your head down first, and then as slow as you can, bring your elbows down. It may be difficult to move slowly in the beginning, okay? And then when your elbows come down, relax your whole body. Okay, so I'm going to show you that again, and I'm going to talk about the reflexes that we learned about at the beginning of this live video, and how they relate to this movement, how this movement that I'm showing you starts to reset these primal reflexive past patterns, okay, unconscious patterns. So we're going to arch, you're going to arch your lower back a little bit. This is that green light. This is a deep primal pattern. You started this back arching pattern when you were a little baby, learning to lift your head, okay? So I've arched my back, and now I'm going to super slowly come out of the arch. Super, super slow. When I'm out of the arch, got to pay attention, make sure I'm out of the arch, I'm no longer arched. Now I'm going to lift and come forward. This is the red light position. This is now my pelvis is tucked, my back has lengthened to the floor, and my head is forward from my body. And now I'm going to very slowly come out of the red light pattern. Okay? And then slowly bring my elbows back down and relax. And I generally recommend that you try these 3 times. So you do 3 little arches and then release. Okay? And then you try with your arms and head, making sure that you're following the technique here, which is release slowly, relax before you do another movement, and try not to do anything that hurts, okay? Because as we saw before in my demonstration, like pain creates tension. It creates a reaction in our bodies, that activates one of these reflexive patterns. So we want to try to get around those by not experiencing pain when possible, okay? Alternatively, I'm going to show you guys something. If you're someone who slouches a lot, or you notice that your pelvis is kind of a little bit tucked under, right? Or even if it's just difficult to arch your back, okay? This is the other way you can try this exercise. You can do it backwards, kind of, okay? You can first start with the curl just in your lower half. So how you would do that is you would imagine where your sternum and your pubic bone are, and you're going to draw those spaces together. So you're going to engage your belly, or for the yogi people out there, your rectus abdominis, and then you're going to slowly, as slow as you can, you're going to release your belly. So that's the opposite way of starting this exercise. Instead of starting with an arch, if that feels hard, you can try the other side. Maybe flattening your back to the floor and engaging your belly feels easier, okay? Start with what feels easy, okay? Then you slowly release that pattern, and you could do that a couple of times, engaging your belly, flattening your back, and then slowly, slowly releasing and resting. And after you do that a couple of times, try the opposing muscle group now. You can try arching your back a little bit, and maybe it feels a little easier. Maybe it feels more possible, okay? So you can also do it the opposite way with the arms here. So how that would look is you lift and come forward, right, which tucks the pelvis under, and lifting your head engages your belly, and then you slowly bring your head down, and then slowly, slowly bring your elbows down, and then relax everything. Really let yourself relax for a moment before you arch your back a little bit, and then slowly come out of the arch and relax. So you can basically do this movement the way I showed you first, or if that somehow feels difficult and hard, you can reverse the order, because maybe that's better for your body's individual positioning, your body's specific postural arrangement, right? So that's the beginning exercise that I recommend to everybody when they're starting their journey of resetting and transforming their posture and freeing their posture, okay? So I started this video talking about, hi, St. Grace, Daniela Marie, hello. So I love you. This video started with me examining and talking about what posture is, okay? And I want to say it again because it's so beautiful. This is a quote by Thomas Hanna. Posture is a dynamic living process that goes on all the time and can be changed at any time. So we looked earlier, I did a little skit. I hope it's kind of funny. So if you rewatch this video, starting, you just joined us, I did a little skit showing how posture changes over time, how it develops in us, in humans over time. Then I showed you my individual posture that I carried for many years. And then I just showed you the first step that you can take in transforming your posture and changing how you unconsciously hold your body, So this is pretty much concludes my lesson today, but there's a couple little, extras that I'd love to share with you guys. What happened for me as I started changing my posture and moving out of my unconscious pattern of how I held my body, right, as a response to the things that had happened to me in my life. As I started to physically reset that and unwind that, I started to feel more free, free physically to move around in the world, right, and not be stuck in a reflexive response to life. But I also started to feel more free psychologically, mentally, emotionally, because I wasn't living with this tension. I wasn't living with this pressure in my body that was accumulated, right? So whenever you're working with your body in this gentle kind of intimate way, you're developing an inner connection to what's going on internally that you can tap into moment to moment, that's connecting you deeper to your sense of self, or maybe not your sense of self. Maybe it's connecting you deeper to the energies that are coming in, right, and that are impacting you. So whether it's, connecting you more to your identity, or it's connecting you more to the collective, this is part of the wonderful magic of these kinds of somatic practices. And Hanna Somatic Education has really transformed the way I move in my body, from a place of tension and pain on a regular basis to freedom and being able to do things with my body that I never thought I would be able to do. Because for me, with the patterns and the things that I experienced in my life, it started when I was a child. There are times I can remember as an 8-year-old or 7-year-old that I could tell something was wrong in my body, and I was trying to run, or I was trying to do something other kids were doing easily, and I physically couldn't do it. I couldn't figure out how to get my body to do that, and it was so upsetting because I wanted to dance, I wanted to run, I wanted to do all these things other kids were doing, and yet I felt like there was something wrong with me because I couldn't get my body to do those things. Well, now understanding that, there was nothing bad or wrong about my posture. It was I had had different life experiences, and I'd had different individual responses to those experiences. So learning about this has also transformed the way that I look at, how my life was when I was younger, and it transforms how I see other people, okay? I see somebody with bad posture who's not sitting up straight, and instead of thinking there's something wrong with them and they need to be fixed, it's wow, look at that intelligent response to their life. Maybe they don't want to stay like that, and yeah, and if they don't want to, if they're telling me I have bad posture, my back hurts, it's okay, well, I got some things you can hear. I can tell you my story, So
These are kind of like the extras. This is like the after party if you are hanging out with me here. So this practice really is all about freedom. It's about your freedom to move in your body, you know, and do what feels good to you in your body, through releasing these patterns of contraction that bind us over time, right? So if you're just joining, this is the end here, you're at the after party with Aimee Takaya, but we were talking about posture, how it develops over time, you know, whether there is such a thing as good and bad posture, right? So I explored like the root of our posture and how we hold our bodies, and we identified 3 primal postural reflexes. I even showed everybody through like this little skit that I did, you know, how that happens and develops over time. And then I shared my personal posture of how I used to stand, and then, you know, I stand much differently now. So, you know, now there's a sense of possibility for me in my life in not only sharing myself with the world, you know, because I've come out of that fearful position that I held. Not that I don't go back into it. We all, you know, life still happens, but there's so much more freedom when I'm not trapped by that, physically trapped by that response to life of being afraid, you know. So now, like, big win for me, something I celebrate every time I do it, I can run. And, you know, I couldn't run as a child very easily. It was difficult for me to run. And then when I was in my 20s and I was, you know, really into yoga and doing a lot of yoga, I also couldn't run easily because of these patterns that were going on in my body unconsciously, these contractions. And so it was really difficult for me to run. I would hurt. My lower back would hurt. My pelvis would hurt. And now, after, you know, a regular daily practice of these slow, gentle movements, I can run. And it feels good. It feels great. It feels like, wow, this is the mechanical pattern of running that, like, I've seen other people doing throughout my life, and I've always wanted to do. And now it's possible. So that's really the core of what I'm offering people and what I'm teaching, is that freedom, you know, if freedom is possible and it comes from within, and you can teach your posture, you can teach your body how to be more free. So, to sum up and end, we looked at posture, how it transforms, develops, changes over time. We expanded the idea of good and bad to looking at posture as a dynamic living process that goes on all the time and can be changed at any time, right? It's part of our innate intelligence. And I showed you my posture, talked about how it's transformed, and I showed you an exercise that you can try to start yourself on the road to more freedom in the way you move in your body. And so I would love to hear from you guys. If you watch this and you have comments or questions, type them in and I'll review, and I'll try to get back to everybody in a timely manner. But yeah, just watching what I did with the green light and red light and trauma postures, maybe you're already thinking like, oh yeah, I do that. You know, I have more weight on this side, or I have, you know, my shoulders curled forward. You can already start to see how your body has uniquely configured, you know, based on your life experiences, right? So I'd love to hear from you guys. And yeah, everybody have a beautiful day. If you like this video and you want to see more content like this, go to the playlist. You can go to the video and type in "Free Your Soma," and there's a playlist that all my videos will be on. You can just follow that playlist and you'll get a notification when I make another video. I am going to be going live every Friday at 9 a.m. to share with you guys tips, little mini workshops like the one that I just did, and yeah, share with you guys about my experience being someone who was trapped in my posture, in my life experiences, to someone who is living with so much freedom and possibility. And yeah, bye.